safe from harm in all of their duties. Father, I pray for wisdom in your divine providence in our meetings so that we can work and act in the best interest of the community and of the citizens and the residents of the city of Greenwood. Father, we thank you for this time, and we just, I pray all of this in your son's name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. You may be seated. Roll call.
Campbell.
Here.
Gibson. Here. Hill. Absent. Hopper.
Here.
Cash. Absent. Lexi. Absent. Manship. Here. Moan.
Here.
Ed Williams.
Here.
And happy birthday.
And we do have a quorum. All of you should have received copies of the minutes from our last meeting of August the 18th. Do I have a motion? Motion, Mr. Moan. Second? Second. Second by Mr. Hopper. Any additions, deletions, or corrections? Hearing none, then roll call on the minutes.
Campbell.
Aye.
Gibson. Aye. Hopper.
Aye.
Manship. Aye. Moan.
Aye.
And Williams.
Abstain. Minutes are approved with a vote of 5-0 with 1 abstention. Reports, Corporation Council.
Nothing from Corporation Council.
Anything from the controller at this time?
Not at this time.
Any other committee or board reports? All right, hearing none, then this is an opportunity we set aside for members of the public to address the council concerning items that are on tonight's agenda. So if you'd like to do so, please step to the podium, state your name and address for the record. And there is a 5-minute time limit per person and a 20-minute time limit per topic. Seeing none, moving on, ordinances and resolutions, none under notice of intent to consider. First reading, ordinance number 2516.
An ordinance providing for an additional appropriation from the general fund to budget classification 431 in the amount of $4,500 and the police merit commission budget sponsored by Hopper.
I'll have a motion. Motion, Mr. Hopper, second. By Ms. Gibson. This is scheduled for a public hearing. So open up for a public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak for or against ordinance 2516 can step to the podium. State your name and address for the record. Seeing none, close the public hearing. Chief.
Yes, Jim Ison, Chief Police. This is money necessary to fund the professional services line item for the Merit Commission through the end of the year. Primarily, we fell short because we held 2 hiring processes and a promotional process in the same year. That on top of their attorney fees have put us over. There's a little built in there just in case we have an unexpected expense, but anything not used will revert back to the general.
Any questions from the chief?
Chief, didn't you say that you already have the billing on this and you would like for us to suspend it through second reading?
Yes, the Merit Commission receives the contracts and the bills. They did, at their last meeting, they presented me with the bill, and at that time I realized that there was not enough in the line item. So we will be past the net 30 if we extend it to another.
All right, any other questions? Hearing none, then roll call, ordinance 2516, first reading.
Are you gonna do suspension of the rules?
Yes, just first reading.
This is first.
This is just first reading.
I'm sorry, I apologize. Campbell.
Aye.
Gibson.
Aye.
Hopper.
Aye.
Manship. Aye. Moan.
Aye.
And Williams.
Aye. Ordinance 2516 passes first reading 6-0. Do I have a motion for suspension of the rules through second reading? Motion by Ms. Gibson, second. Second by Mr. Moan. Any discussion on suspension? Hearing none, then roll call on suspension.
Gibson.
Aye.
Hopper.
Aye.
Manship.
Aye.
Moan.
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
And Campbell.
Aye. Rules are suspended through second reading on a vote of 6-0. Do I have a motion on second reading?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Gibson, second by Mr. Williams. Any discussion? Hearing none, then roll call. Ordinance 2516, second reading.
Hopper.
Aye.
Manship.
Aye.
Moan.
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Campbell.
Aye.
And Gibson.
Aye.
Ordinance 2516 passes second reading 6-0. Thank you, Chief. Resolution 2513.
A resolution declaring certain personal property for tax abatement, sponsored by Hopper.
Do I have a motion? Motion, Mr. Hopper, second. Second by Mr. Moan. Any discussion, questions? Anybody want to talk about this? All right, hearing none, then roll call, first reading, resolution 2513.
Manship.
Aye.
Moan.
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Campbell.
Aye.
Gibson.
Aye.
And Hopper.
Resolution 2513 passes first reading 6-0. Second reading, none. New business, introduction of new ordinances, resolutions, resolution 2514.
A resolution amending resolution number 92-2, a resolution joining with the mayor and establishing a city policy for compliance with the Americans with Disabilities Act and addressing related matters to appoint the current city engineer as the ADA coordinator, sponsored by Gibson.
You want to talk to us about this one?
This particular one is made necessary because the current designee is James Peck, who's no longer city engineer. And under resolution 2514, you will be appointing John Grimes, who is project manager with the Department of Community Development Services, who is actually employed by the city.
Sam, does this not just go with the title of engineer, it's designated to a specific person?
It
Each
will,
time.
the
So it
next
has to be
resolution will
updated
do that.
each time. Okay.
We need to suspend the rules so that we're in compliance.
That would be helpful, thank you.
We have a motion to suspend the rules on resolution 2514 through first reading.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Gibson, second. Second by Mr. Hopper. Any discussion? Hearing none, then roll call on suspension of the rules, resolution 2514 through first reading.
Moan.
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Campbell.
Aye.
Gibson.
Aye.
Hopper.
Aye.
And Manship.
Rules are suspended on a vote of 6-0. Do I have a motion on first reading? Motion, Mr. Hopper, second.
Second.
Second by Ms. Gibson. Any discussion? Hearing none, then roll call, resolution 2514, first reading.
Williams.
Aye.
Campbell.
Aye.
Gibson.
Aye.
Hopper.
Aye.
Manship.
Aye.
And Moan.
Aye.
Resolution 2514 passes first reading 6-0. Do I have a motion for suspension through second reading? Motion, Mr. Hopper, second by Mr.
Second.
Moan. Any discussion? Hearing none, then roll call, suspension of the rules, resolution 2514 through second reading.
Campbell.
Aye.
Gibson.
Aye.
Hopper.
Aye.
Manship.
Aye.
Moan.
Aye.
And Williams.
Aye.
Rules are suspended through second reading on a vote of 6-0. Do I have a motion on second reading? Motion, Mr. Hopper, second. Second by Ms. Manship. They did there, good. Any discussion? Hearing none, then roll call, resolution 2514, second reading.
Gibson.
Aye.
Hopper.
Aye.
Manship.
Aye.
Moan.
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
And Campbell.
Aye. Resolution 2514 passes second reading 6-0. Ordinance 2517.
An ordinance amending the Greenwood Municipal Code as amendment, Chapter 2, City Administration, Article 10, Miscellaneous Provisions, Section 2-121, Americans with Disabilities Act policy statement to change the ADA coordinator sponsored by Gibson.
We'll explain this one too.
I think I had them backwards. I believe this is the one that makes it generally the engineer, and the last one you did change it from the particular person. But right now, even if you pass this, it's still going to be John Grimes until we appoint a or hire a new engineer.
Okay.
Do we know when do we have someone in mind, and are we in the process, or do we need to just let this ride? What do we need to do?
No, this
Go
one we
ahead.
need to go through the.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
second
we
reading also.
have a motion to suspend the rules to first reading.
So,
Motion by Ms. Gibson, second.
Second.
Second by Ms. Manship. Any discussion on suspension? Hearing none, then roll call on ordinance 2517 on suspension of the rules through first reading.
Hopper.
Aye.
Manship.
aye.
Moan.
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Campbell.
Aye.
And Gibson.
Aye.
Rules are suspended to first reading. A vote of 6-0. Do I have a motion on first reading? Motion, Mr. Hopper, second. Second by Mr. Moan. Any discussion, questions? And then in roll call, ordinance 2517, first reading.
Manship.
Aye.
Moan.
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Campbell.
Aye.
Gibson.
Aye.
And Hopper.
Ordinance 2517 passes first reading 6-0. Do I have a motion for suspension through second reading?
So,
Motion by Ms. Gibson, second.
second.
Ms. Manship, any discussion on suspension? Hearing none, then roll call on suspension of the rules through second reading, ordinance 2517.
Moan.
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Campbell.
Aye.
Gibson.
Aye.
Hopper.
Aye.
And Manship.
Rules are suspended through second reading, a vote of 6-0. Do I have a motion on second reading? Motion by Mr. Hopper, second by Mr. Moan. Any discussion? Hearing none, then roll call, ordinance 2517, second reading.
Williams.
Aye.
Campbell.
Aye.
Gibson.
Aye.
Hopper.
Aye.
Manship.
Aye.
And Moan.
Aye.
Ordinance 2517 passes second reading on a vote of 6-0. Clearing the docket for budget presentation for the next week. Ordinance 2518.
An ordinance amending Greenwood Municipal Code as amended, Chapter 6, Article 4, Division 7, Division 12, to establish a fee for non-emergency response and lift assistance at residential care facilities, sponsored by Hopper and Gibson.
Good evening, Council. Jamie Michelle, Fire Chief. So as most of you know, I'm a very data-driven person, data-driven chief. We've been monitoring our call volume and types of calls for quite some time. And one of the things that is an anomaly that is standing out are residential care facilities. In particular, through July, we've had 517 or 5,719 calls for service for total call volume, and we've had 887 calls for 7 different facilities. That's 15% of our total call volume, approximately. So this would not be for residential. So 123 Main Street, single family home. This would be for non-emergent calls, lift assist at residential care facilities. This would be serving as a deterrent. Fire engine for us to operate is approximately $1,500 an hour according to FEMA schedules. Our ladder is about $2,000 an hour. So this is to deter misuse of our resources for the fire department. As you know, if we're at a facility for a non-emergent call that doesn't necessitate our response, we can't be there for a critical call emergency.
Any questions for the chief? All right, thank you. Any discussion on council?
I might make one statement. I think it's been maybe 6, 8 years ago, we tried identifying the rooms in these apartments that are long-term. And we haven't really brought this down any. We have been able to track if John Doe's in room 212 and we get 3 calls in the month on 312, then we know that that's the same person. But I think we really need to support the fire department in this. And so I'd like to move for suspension of the rules on first reading so that at our next meeting, we'll only have the.
All right, we have a
And I-
motion.
Just a moment. I do have a question for you, Chief. I have a quick question.
Sure.
Once this ordinance is passed, will we put out a letter to these facilities and advise them that this is our new ordinance? And
Yeah, we passed a similar ordinance with a fee structure, an updated fee structure for fire alarms, malicious fire alarms. And that's exactly what we'll do, is we'll send out a notice to those facilities to let them know that this is a new ordinance.
Chief, first of all, from what I know, this is not out of the ordinary. With a little bit of experience in this, I know that the process can be tedious. But the second question I had is this a tiered fee structure? I don't know that I saw that. Is it tiered, like if you abuse it more, it costs more?
I believe the first call out is $500 and then it's $1,000 after that. Each person.
If 1, 2, and 3 were 500.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, or 5. Then each additional would be $1,000.
Okay.
Again, this is just to serve as the term.
All right, any other questions? We do have a motion on the floor for suspension of the rules through first reading. Do I have a second? Second by Ms. Manship. A motion by Ms. Gibson, second by Ms. Manship. Any discussion on suspension? Hearing none, then roll call on suspension of the rules through first reading on ordinance 2518.
Campbell,
Aye.
Gibson,
aye.
Hopper.
Aye.
Manship.
Aye.
Moan.
Aye.
And Williams.
Aye.
Rules are suspended through first reading on the vote 6-0. We have a motion on first reading.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Gibson, second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Moan. Any discussion?
I don't really have any discussion. Well, maybe. So I get the intent. What's to keep one of these places from just saying this person's having a cardiac event? We roll. There isn't really a cardiac event. Person's on the floor, but they say it was cardiac, and then we hook them up, and there's nothing wrong with them. So I'm trying to figure out how they're going to try to get around this, because clearly they don't have the manpower to pick these people up, at least presently, or else they wouldn't call us, I wouldn't think, in the first place. And then 2, could we monetize this and say, yeah, we'll come pick your people up off your floor, but it's going to cost you X. And we don't, that way it's not an emergency call. They're not rolling out the entire fleet, just 2 guys in a Tahoe out there to pick somebody up.
Well, one of the things that we have is obviously if we're dispatched, we have a duty to act. For us, it'll all be in the reporting. Once, if we're called there for, I'll give you an example, if we're called for a fire alarm and it's upgraded to a structure fire, then we would know that we were called for the fire alarm, but this was actually what we encountered when we arrived. Same sort of thing here. If we're called for a sick person or a cardiac event, and we arrive and find out that it is a non-emergent call, we would document that, and then that would be noted, and that would be when we would send out those.
Right. And do we want to try to monetize this, charge them $200 to have 2 guys go out and lift somebody up, or?
I don't.
All right. Any other questions, comments?
Who will do the billing?
We will run it exactly the same structure that we do with fire alarm fees. So the money that would be recovered from these types of calls, just like the fire alarms, would be utilized for emergency medical operations with equipment. That would be the intention.
Anything else? All right, thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
All right, hearing nothing else then, roll call, first reading ordinance 2518.
Gibson. Aye. Hopper.
Aye.
Manship. Aye. Moan.
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
And Cameron.
Aye. Ordinance 2518 passes first reading 6-0. Miscellaneous business, this is an opportunity for the public to address the council concerning items that are not on tonight's agenda. So if you'd like to do so, please step to the podium, state your name and address for the record. And again, a 5-minute time limit per person and a 20-minute time limit per topic. All right, any miscellaneous business from the council? The miscellaneous business, Corporation Council,
Nothing.
the controller, I think, has some business for us.
Good evening, everybody. Fred Wright, City Controller. As you can probably tell from my attire, it is budget time again. So what I learned from last year's budget is that we can get through the departmental comparisons in one night if we do the level setting and the big picture stuff in a separate night. It'll go pretty quick. So tonight will be our big picture, 35,000 foot overview. Next meeting, I'll have all of the comparisons for you and go through all the summaries of each department. So first thing here, timeline, like I said, here's tonight. Next one, the official introduction is your next meeting. You'll have the ordinance for that, plus the salary ordinances and all the fun things that go along with it. We'll have our public hearing, first reading at the first October meeting, second reading, and hopefully adoption at the second October meeting, and then we get 5 days to submit it to the DLGF after that. DLGF has to certify by no later than January 15th. The one that I think is very important for everybody to see is that very last one. We won't actually know the impact of circuit breaker and homestead credit losses until the tax bills are done, which is in April of 2026. So we've got some estimates, but we don't know any actuals until we're quarter of the way through the year. I did throw in some quotes here from a blogger that I enjoy reading that talks about local government. So this first one, just a reminder, budgets aren't math problems, they're promises you have to keep. We say yes to one thing, we're saying not now to something else. So as we go through that, that is the purpose of the budget. This is the promise we make to our residents, what we're gonna do next year. To start out, 2026 budget, the watchword is gonna be uncertainty. It's the first year of the impacts of the Senate Enrolled Act #1, which was that property tax reform bill that we talked about ad nauseum earlier in the year, but it still went through. So we do know that not only in 26, but 27 and looking forward, we're gonna have a lot of uncertainty. We just don't have any actual data to utilize to lean on. So the state has given us an estimated impact of circuit breakers and homestead credits for next year. They think we're gonna be somewhere around $3,233,200 in losses. So that's off the top of our tax levies. That is up 47% from what we had in 2025. The biggest piece of that is just over 960,000 of it is the new property tax credits, those $300 credits. And then the rest of it is due to the new deductions coming online. But again, like I mentioned, we don't actually know how accurate that number is. In the past, when we've gotten estimates on circuit breaker impacts from the DLGF, they've always been low. So we are using this number, but we're not relying on this number. The property tax growth factor was limited by Senate Enrolled Act 1 to 4% for 2026. So that resulted in our property tax dollars going up by $755,396. You'll notice that number is less than the new losses of 1,033,480. So we are starting 2026 in the hole, 278,000. Before we even start looking at the budgets, we're already short on revenues compared to where we were in 25. Which is why through this quote in, running the city is reconciling demands that are mathematically impossible to satisfy at once. Demanding the cities do everything faster, cheaper, and prettier without trade-offs is like asking a cow to win the Kentucky Derby. You can saddle it up, but it will never run like a horse. The next piece, in addition to the property tax changes, is the local income tax. In the past couple of years, we've had 8% and then 10% and 11% growth in income taxes. The 2026 estimate is a growth of 5.5%. So we're seeing some slowdown in the wage growth that we had right after the COVID years. But unfortunately for us, Senate Rollback Act 1 is pushing more reliance on local income taxes instead of the property taxes. And we come back to that watchword of uncertainty because income taxes have more volatility and uncertainty than property taxes. Particularly when there are changes to the economy, we will see drops in collections a lot quicker than we would on a property tax basis. And then in 2028, the current local income tax system is completely scrapped. And the new system goes into effect. And so what we will be looking at is in late 2027, both the counties and municipalities will be looking at adopting their own local income tax rates to fund services. So whereas the current system is based on the proportional property tax levies to the rest of the county, what we're going to see is our local income tax revenues will be based on the people that live and work, or the people that live in the city of Greenwood, their incomes. What we don't know from that, because the Department of Revenue does not yet have a way to collect such data, is what that tax base is going to look like. They do not yet have it down to the municipal level, so we can't get any accurate guesstimates on what our tax base is going to be once we do actually look at having to adopt that. But it's not all doom and gloom. We did get some positives. Our net assessed values were up again. This year we're up 10.5% on the city net assessed values. That pushes the total NAV over $4.7 billion. The fire fund is up just over $3.9 billion. This is because taxing district 41, which is along the State Road 135 corridor, those are covered by White River Township Fire Protection rather than GFD, so they do not get taxed for GFD. Also, our TIF districts, the incremental captured assessed value is up 11.13%. It has now surpassed $1 billion. Some of you may recall back in 2014, our TIFs were about $300 million in assessed values, so we have now finally broken that $1 billion barrier that I think was the RDC's goal. And that is with still having some abatements to roll off. So I would expect that that number is still going to be trending upward the next several years. We do have a couple of GEO bonds that are rolling off. In 2020, we issued a bond, and then we also issued one last year. Both of those bonds are rolling off. Hopefully creating some capacity to issue general obligation bonds for some projects that are in the hopper here. We've got Main Street phases 3 and 4 that is going down past the golf course entrance. There's a roundabout as part of that project. Smith Valley Road widening, we're starting as part of a MPO project. The first phase of that here in the next year or two. We'll probably be looking at the next 10 to 15 years, similar to what we have with Horseville Road. That's going to be a long project broken up into multiple phases. We do know that Fire Station 92 is going to need to be replaced in the near future. It's already having some structural issues. In addition, it was initially built as a volunteer station, so it does not necessarily serve a great purpose for the current full-time career firefighters. We would like to keep doing the sidewalk and trail replacement project that we've done over the last couple of years with bond money. We put over $750,000 into that, replacing panels and really upgrading those, as well as paving and crack sealing projects. We want to keep up with that. There is a new provision in state law that if our road ratings remain above a PASER rating of 6, we will be able to use more of the MVH dollars towards operations rather than road construction and maintenance. So that would give us additional funds to help fund the actual operations for the street department without having to shift funds from another source. Another quote here: we stopped connecting the price of government to the price of everything else. We act like public agencies are immune to inflation and exempt from reality. Government has to buy the same things from the same world at the same rising prices as everyone else. I threw that in here because we are seeing inflation in these budgets. Any of you that attended the budget meetings probably heard several different areas where the department heads brought in numbers that were inflation driven. First thing on here, something that everybody sees is health insurance. You may not be aware, but the city's health insurance is self-funded. We do have what's called a stop loss, so that if a certain claim gets up above $190,000, that reinsurance will kick in and we will get reimbursed that. But beyond that, anything below that is all paid as part of by the city's funds. So based on historical and the new firefighters we added to the plan last year, or in 2025, we're anticipating growth in claims of 8%. That is not to say that what the premiums are will grow by 8%. That is just making sure we have enough funding in the budget to cover the city's part. We won't know the premiums until April or March of next year when we go to do renewals. So this is basically just kind of best guess covering us until we get to that point. Technology is another area we're seeing inflation. Just about every single software agreement we have has some sort of inflationary factor built into it, usually 3 to 5%. Additionally, you're seeing growth in the cost of hardware, whether it's the metals that are in the hardware, whether it's tariffs because it's built somewhere else. We're seeing growth in those costs. Supplies, all the lines that I mentioned here: uniforms, cleaning supplies, tire, battery, oil, repair parts, asphalt, cement, road salt, chemicals, fire gear. Every single one of those had an inflationary number built into it from the department heads. Repair and maintenance service. If you ever have to take a vehicle and you get it fixed, you may notice parts and labor are up. Same goes for us. HVAC fixes, same goes for us. Storm sirens, parts and labor are up. So we're seeing inflation there. Property and liability insurance, this is actually a market-wide increase driven by several of the different disasters that have hit the U.S. in the last couple of years that have been driving losses, as well as our own loss history. So when we renewed this past April, our premiums were up 15.3%. We are estimating a similar impact at the next renewal in 2026. Additionally, we did have to increase our automobile deductibles from $2,500 to $5,000. That was not an option. That was we were told by the auto insurer, and the only auto insurer that would bid on us, that it had to go to $5,000. So we do have to build into our budget enough to cover those new deductibles. You may have seen the news story earlier today about utilities. This is a statewide issue. Electricity, water rates going up. We'll be bringing to this council later in the year rate studies on sewer and trash rates to talk about sufficiency and whether or not we need to address anything there. Other increases we're looking at, we've got a new fire station. It's going to have new utility costs, new supplies, maintenance, fuel, things that were not in 2025's budget. That'll be new in 26. We've got 6 new positions budgeted in the fire department. We want to expand the use of these Samsara GPS units. We did a group of 200 of them in the 2025 budget. fleet maintenance manager and several department heads have been very pleased with the results of those, and so we are wanting to expand it to the rest of the fleet. Parks, there's a rather large increase to the Freedom Springs painting line item. They do one pool every year. It's a 3-year contract rotation. The Lazy River is 2026. That's the biggest one. It costs the most to paint, so that's why it'll be a large jump that you'll see in the detailed budget. Our upgrades to servers, network hardware, and adding security cameras, those are new things. The asset management plan, this is one we have to do every 2 years. It is a requirement in order to get the community crossings grants. So we have that built into 26. That's about a $50,000 every 2-year expenditure. We've got some increases to our traffic signal repairs and maintenance. That line has trended up every year. Part of that is the parts and labor costs. Part of it is we are getting more of these lights that need to be taken care of. Part of it is also the bills for the electricity on. We've added a new line for streetlights. We get requests for these quite a bit. It's increased a lot as we have more subdivisions coming online. So we wanted to put a separate line in there so that if any of those are approved, we actually have funds available to do them. Finally, the flock cameras, we want to add some more around the city. These have been an excellent force multiplier for the police department. They've used them in multiple different cases, so we want to expand that usage. And as we get to the end here, what are we doing on the cost control side? Many of the line items have been flatlined, so some of those lines, if there is extra costs or inflationary costs from vendors, basically we'll have to make do with less. For full-time, non-merit public safety employees, we'll be freezing salaries at the 2025 level. However, we are looking to have a $1,000 premium paid to those employees. It'd be paid out $250 per quarter starting January 26. So any full-time employee who has completed their 6-month probationary period by the end of this year. It is a PERF eligible wage, which is important because of 2 lines down when I talk about public safety. The part-time year-round employees who worked at least 500 hours in 2025 would be eligible for a $500 premium paid out on the same quarterly schedule. This is the same requirement we had when we did the COVID premium payout. So that's where we came up with that 500 hours worked and part-time year-round. But we wanted to be able to do something for those people who've shown loyalty throughout. On the merit public safety employees, we are looking at doing a 1% increase to their 2025 salaries. The reason we did theirs as a permanent salary increase as opposed to a premium is that the PERF for public safety runs differently. It is based solely off of the first class officer or first class firefighter payroll. So this allows that increase to hit their pension base as well. So the combination of the increase and the pension base hit comes out to almost $1,000 for the first class firefighters and first class officers. So basically it's the same growth, it's just broken out differently depending on where you're working at. For the mayors, the elected officials will have no pay increase in 26. Part of this is because we can't do anything for elected officials that doesn't carry into the future years. So the reason we wanted to do the premium is because 2027 is actually going to be worse than 2026 as far as the revenue losses go. The deductions in SEA 1 will increase. So we know that we will see that plus the change in the business personal property tax from an $80,000 floor to a $2 million floor. So those two things are going to hit our property tax numbers and hit our circuit breakers. So we don't want to do anything permanent that we don't know we can fund in 27. Fortunately, when we get to 28, assuming the council does decide that they would like to adopt a municipal lit, we may have a way to make up some of these losses and catch back up and hopefully be able to take care of things for the employees at that point in time. But currently, 26 and 27 are basically batten down the hatches years as far as we're concerned. We're looking at using some GO bonds like I talked about. We want to fund some capital purchases through there that usually we would have done through our lease purchase for fleet equipment. This way it's not going through the operating budget. That frees up money for those other things. We'll be looking at our health plan. We do this every year when we get near the end of the year. We meet with our broker and he goes through what our plan looks like. He gives us some benchmarks compared to other government units as well as to other private industry, and basically tries to give us a couple of options on different switches we could change to bring down costs. We've been fairly reluctant to make some of those changes in the past just because we don't want to change the coverage levels. It is really it's a great plan, but it's also great for us as far as recruiting and retention goes. So we don't want to lose any of that value if we can manage to keep up with the costs. So that'll be a reevaluation later in the year. And finally, part of this is just making sure we're balancing the budget. So as we get into the next meeting and we go through that, I will be reassuring the council that we have balanced everything as far as revenues incoming with the anticipated spending, so that we are not spending down cash balances and putting the city into a bad position for future years. So finally here, what's next will be the official introduction, as I discussed, finalizing the website for the 26 budget proposal. It'll be just like what last year's looked like. Click through each department. That's what I'll use at the next meeting to kind of go through with everyone. As soon as that's ready, I'll have it posted on the finance department webpage as well as emailed directly to all council members. Additionally, we are monitoring information from the DLGF, other state agencies. We're working with AIM on trying to push some legislative changes in next year's session that may ameliorate some of the negative impacts of SEA1, try to offset some of that. I don't know what will actually be successful, but we're hopeful. I'm trying to keep everybody updated as we go through that process. So the final quote there, we know the work isn't just about fixing roads, collecting trash, issuing permits, or enforcing ordinances. It's about showing a community what it looks like to be cared for, not as numbers, not as cases, as people. This isn't just our job, it's our calling, and we carry it with gratitude because we love this work and love the people it's meant for. I think that goes for all of the city's employees as well as all of the people who serve on our council, on our boards. We're here because we care. We want to do the best we can with what we've got. And so that is our intent with the budget that I'll be presenting to you at the next meeting.
All right, any questions for Mr. Wright? Comments? Thank you. Appreciate all that. All right. Anything from the mayor's office? Hearing none, then we are adjourned.